In this video, you're going to learn some techniques and strategies for remote auditing. We've got a group of partners, consultants, people who train auditors, and they're going to give us some techniques, insights on how to get effective remote auditing performed. Hi, Peter from Mango, and welcome to Compliance Conversations. When the new normal comes back, whatever that is, will you continue to do remote auditing?
Internal audits, second-party audits, I certainly think it will be. Most of the auditees and the people on the other end of the audit have been a bit surprised how well it's worked as well. Certification audits, look, there's, I guess, different rules by bodies above some of the certification bodies that would have an influence on that. Having said that, I have been involved in some third-party audits and they're working quite effectively as well. So I guess time will tell on that side, but again, there might be some efficiencies and extra value that could come out of the kind of limited audit time they typically have on site. If that's, I wouldn't just see it as a negative, a loss, if even some of those certification bodies, if they could demonstrate there's, you know, there are risks and opportunities in a remote audit process. And if they could demonstrate that, I mean, say, for example, I know a lot of the water bodies are certified, that maybe there's extra value they could get out of the allocated audit time by, again, visiting more sites, interviewing more people. So as long as it's done in a way that it's not just, I guess, trying to, what's the word, cheapen the audit program itself. If it's done with that hat on to say, well, how can we actually get more value out of its audit program? Yeah, I think it definitely could. I did have a third-party audit client who doing a remote audit, and he asked if he was obliged to send Uber Eats around for my lunch, and I said, no, that's all right, I can have a salad sandwich. So.
Oh, certainly we will. I think our process is improving as well in terms of how we go about doing that. And look, we made a decision probably about 18 months ago, we wouldn't do remote audits unless the clients were on Mango. And that was really because we did do an audit with somebody on a paper-based spreadsheet system, and it was a little bit of a nightmare in terms of them flowering around getting the information or the evidence ready for the actual audit. And there will always be something that came up during the course of that audit whereby they thought they had the information ready, but it wasn't actually the right information. So then they go and stumble around in their filing cabinet and so forth. So we made that the commercial decision that really had to be online and with Mango to do a remote audit, and then the price reflected that. So it's worked pretty well since.
I think that'll depend a lot on the certification bodies. So we'll have a mix of people going out and doing on-site and remote work. I think when we do the document reviews, a lot of that will be done remotely, but there still will be an element of having to turn up on site to actually see that the excavation that they're digging is being dug the right way, the swims, the controls are in place. But I think the documentation review will be done remotely a lot more. And as long as the certification bodies stay on board with that, I think a lot of that travel will go away. Things like where someone may have a satellite office in Broken Hill, that's just one guy doing a bit of work, whereas previously we had to turn up to that site to go and look at his computer that we could see everything from remotely. I think that stuff will go away, and I think they'll be more accommodating of doing those sorts of things. But yeah, I think there will always be that on-site, particularly for construction work and manufacturing industry, where you want to make sure the controls are in place. But the documentation review, I think that'll stick around as remote for a very, very long time.
Absolutely, 100%. And actually, we have started surveying clients that we've been working with and asking them how they've felt. Not all of them. We've probably spoken to about 20% of them to ask their feeling of doing a remote auditing, how it felt for them individually, how it felt for their business. So absolutely, we will continue to do remote auditing. And interestingly, I had a chat with someone at UCAST last week, and the response I got was that I asked a question about continuing remote audit from a certification body point of view, and the response I got was that it's a terminology used in the UK, you are pushing on an open door, meaning they are seriously considering continuing with it.
I think the genie's out of the bottle. They can't put it back in. You know, it's they've done it. We've just gone through our 9,000 and 27,000 audit, and we experienced being remote audited. And I think the quality of the auditing is good. A lot of the reasons was because of what you said, is that you can do a lot of that dog work. You can look at the records without the pressures of looking over people's shoulders, so that they come up with the really good questions that they want you to be able to demonstrate compliance to your own processes. And I think it was really, really good. The one comment we did make to them was saying, why did you just audit the system? Why didn't you speak to the staff? And they said, oh, it's easier when we're on site. And we said, well, actually, for our type of business, the management can just walk out of the meeting room and we can send all the developers in. And you can ask them in an open and frank environment. So they're going to take that on board and do that next audit. So I think the genie's out of the bottle on remote auditing. They say that the audit is as good as a normal audit. So in that case, why would you go backwards?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've been focusing on as a business is helping clients to manage their compliance remotely. So yes, definitely documentation audits will be done online. It cuts down on travel, it cuts down on risk. So if we have to do audits at a client site per month, we'll review documents in one of the audits, and then we will send somebody to site to review physical site conditions where it is an absolute necessity. So yes, we enjoy remote auditing. There are some significant benefits to it. I think as humanity adapts to more online technology, I think we've got to make sure that we don't lose the essence of communication between people, because a lot of communication is non-verbal. And then obviously physical site conditions do need to be audited.
I'd say partially, yeah, for sure. So if it's, for me, if it's simply verifying documents and what have you, there's really no reason to go into an office unless there's really no great reason to do that. If the client's close by, I probably would prefer the looking at processes and plant and what have you to be done in person as a preference. But if they're any distance away, I think the option of remote auditing is a very reasonable one.
I imagine that we will continue to conduct a number of audits on a remote basis. That there are advantages to doing some face-to-face audits, but I don't think that remote audits will disappear completely. Some of the certification bodies that we're talking to, I know are saying that even on an ongoing basis, they expect there to be a 60-40 split going forward, which is quite huge when you think about the implications for the number of journeys that the assessors will no longer be doing. And I think if the certification bodies are working towards a 60-40 split, then we owe it to our clients to be delivering the same solution, so that they know how it feels to be audited remotely, and they know how it feels to be audited on a face-to-face basis as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no reason why you can't. We certainly in this one we didn't find anything that we couldn't audit. So there's, if the customer's using a system that's capable of allowing you to remote audit, obviously it's a lot easier. So that's the beauty of Mango. It's all online. If you want to look at what the documentation is, you pull up the documentation real time. If you're pulling it out of a cabinet or out of a folder and trying to hold the camera close to it, that's a little bit trickier. But I definitely think remote auditing is got its place, and haven't come across anything that would stop me doing it. At the end of the day, you're interviewing people and asking the people what they're doing and verifying that against the process. So even if it's an old style system, you could always get them to send the stuff to you. Just a lot harder to do.
To all the partners who contributed today, thank you, and hopefully the audience is going to learn some new techniques, your observations, and maybe they can get some value from it and maybe change the way they're doing it. So thank you.